Okay, well, welcome to our pronunciation class today. Why can't I unmute? I don't know, Garrett, and I can't do it for you. I can mute you, I just cannot unmute you. Put your mouse over the screen, and you should see a little microphone, a camera, some lines, settings in the hang-up thing. Click on the microphone and see if that works. Otherwise, you might just have to re-enter. Because we do need you to speak, because we're doing a pronunciation class. And in today's class, I've looked for some words. I've thought of some words that are normally difficult for non-native English speakers to pronounce. Now, I have a document in which I can type, and so you can tell me other words that maybe are difficult for you. This class is probably dedicated to Ken because he wanted pronunciation sentences, not just words or something specific. And so that's where the idea came from. It came from Ken. So thanks, Ken, for your suggestion, and we'll see where today goes.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I will go ahead. Garrett, so you still having problems? No, you're not having problems? Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you here. There it is. Okay, perfect. So these are, like I said, just phrases, sentences that I've made up and see if they are okay. And like I said, we can always add more. And I do have some tongue twisters as a surprise, which everyone loves tongue twisters. I find them, well, the two that I have here are my favorites, so I can't complain. But there are many, many, many tongue twisters in English. If you don't know what a tongue twister is, that means that it's a sentence that has a lot of the same sounds, and so it's very difficult to pronounce. So Ken will be testing you, and hopefully Garrett, if she comes back. So the first sentence here, I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and read it for you. And I want to explain something after this as well. Okay, so the first sentence says, we find fruits and vegetables in the produce section at the grocery store. Now, this is a very typical American sentence for a couple reasons here. Ken, would you like to pronounce? Would you like to read the sentence?
We find fruits and vegetables in the produce section at the grocery store.
So it was good. Now I have two words in here that are the most difficult, and it's vegetables. Okay, Garrett, I think we can hear you now. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Garrett. Yeah, we can hear you. That's great.
Thanks,
God. Oh, good, and Thomas is there. All right, great. Well, Ken just read the first sentence, and hi, Thomas. There you are. Welcome to our pronunciation class. Okay, so Ken read the first sentence, and so what I will do is I'll read it again for Garrett, and then actually it would be great for Thomas to read it as well for the accent, okay? So Garrett, if you can repeat after I read the sentence, we find fruits and vegetables in the produce section at the grocery store.
Okay. Where's your slide? Okay, got it. We find fruits and vegetables in the produce section at the grocery store.
Okay. Thomas, what do you think of this sentence? Oh, Thomas, I can't hear you. Uh-oh. No, can I hear Thomas? Oh, yep, now I can, yeah.
Again, gone.
Hello?
Now?
Hello, Thomas? Now I can hear you, yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
That sounds cool. I've had problems with my headphones. That's why I'm late as well.
Don't worry. Thomas, do you want to read the sentence and then tell me what you think of it?
Right. We find fruits and vegetables produce section at a grocery store.
Okay.
Jackie saw some strange flowers in the garden. Furniture in the garage. Do you want to go to the swimming pool?
Good. All right, good. So Thomas has read all of the sentences for us, which is great.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I did want to mention here, this word is mainly difficult for everyone. Okay, and so I want to work on that pronunciation, and it's vegetables. Okay, that's how I would kind of put it in, like for pronunciation. Vegetables. There's 3 syllables. A lot of people here in Spain say it differently with 4 syllables because they pronounce all of their letters. And so, anyway, so if we want to work on the word, let's have Ken and Garrett go ahead and repeat after me. So vegetables.
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 Ooh, that was awesome together. Now, the other word I want to look at is this one. This actually means 2 different things. The produce section, for example, is where you find, obviously, the fruits and vegetables in the United States. And here it also looks like the verb produce. Now, the accent, the intonation in this word is different. Produce is this, produce, and then the verb is produce. So with the verb, the accent is here in the du, produce. No. So it's a quite difficult word. So produce section.
So
Okay. Yes.
Action should be the first syllable, or
Exactly. Produce. The PRO part is where you emphasize.
because
Thomas,
it's
does this
not.
sentence look strange? Perfect, Garrett.
I was just confused about fruits, to be honest, because I was just looking up to see if it's a countable or an uncountable, and apparently it's both.
It's both. It is both. I know I've had that same question. I had a lot of doubt. It is.
So because I was just looking that up. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. And also fruits is pretty difficult for everyone as well. They always want to say the I. Thomas, I have a great question for you. My mom, who's relatively smart in general subjects, but she took French growing up, and she said that in the English language we have some words is that when we have 2 verbs together, for example, with fruit, okay, the U and the I, normally in English, the first vowel will make that noise. That's why it's fruit and not Fritz, basically. In German, my mom told me, I don't know if this is true or not, that when you have 2 vowels together, it's the second vowel that the sound is, which makes the sound. Is that true?
Oh God, I'd have to think of examples.
Well, hold on. Let me tell you this. Look in the chat. This is a last name that is very common in the United States. How would you pronounce it?
Zeus.
See, I have a friend, Cease is how we would pronounce it. My mom always told me that the E is the one that we say because it comes from German.
Well,
So
we
does
would firstly the letter would be different. So we have a funny letter for that, which looks like that. So UE is usually, it can be UE, but in many cases, Americans and English, because they don't have a German typewriter, would put SUE as opposed to SU. So SUE is U, and U, so it would be Zeus, which means sweet.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So what question? personal question there.
Sorry about that, Garrett and Ken. I'm sure this is terribly boring for you.
I actually think not, but I mean it's language related, so so that's perfect. And the other thing is I said at the beginning, this is a very American sentence, and I did that on purpose. So Thomas, can you please tell us how the English would say this sentence? Can you translate it for us?
Well, firstly, we wouldn't use the word grocery store.
Correct.
so it's a supermarket. And produce, we probably would use the word produce, but it's more a matter of words rather than pronunciation in this case, I think, because fruits would be the same, vegetables would be the same, produce would be the same. I can't see any vast differences in terms of pronunciation, apart from you have a bit more of a twang to it, depending, and also even within America, I'm sure Texan accent would be completely different from a New York accent or from Wisconsin. So yeah, I mean, so I don't think there's a massive variation in this.
Okay. Well, the kids' books here, you know, the kids that are learning English, they use, I think it's fruit monger or something like that. And monger just sounds terrible to me. There's fruit mongers. I forgot the R. And then there's a fishmongers, for example. Do people use those words?
Fruitmonger, no. Fishmonger, yeah.
Okay.
There's no such thing, I think. Yeah, well, I don't know whether that's a British. I can't. It's what we would use. We wouldn't use the word grocery store. That is definitely American. We would use supermarket. I mean, it's you know, things come over anyway. You have hypermarkets. I mean, everybody in England would understand, of course, what it means. It's just we wouldn't have used that.
And that's the same for me. I would never use supermarket. So it's a grocery store. And then we also have the word to say, in general, the things that you buy, groceries. Groceries. So everything that you buy at the grocery store are groceries. It doesn't matter if it's toilet paper, it's vegetables, it's meat. Everything is kind of grouped together as groceries.
Is it called groceries or groceries?
Grocery. Well, actually, there are some different accents. Ken, can you pronounce grocery store for me?
Grocery store.
Okay, you said it more American there, or more like me that time.
Yeah.
The first time you said
your pronunciation. So.
Remember how you said it the first time?
Sorry?
Do you remember how you pronounced grocery the first time you read this?
Okay, if I maybe my intonation is like at a grocery store.
Yeah, see, there are two different sounds, and that's the second one. When you pronounced it like that, I was like, hey, that's... So the way that Ken said it is fine, and then I, being from Wisconsin, would say grocery, but a lot of people would say grocery or something, the C. I say grosh as if it were an SH sound, and Ken is a little bit more... no, I can't even think of the word in English. In Spanish, yes, but not in English. It's more of like a simple C sound. Okay, so you can pronounce it both ways, and that's fine.
Okay.
So a little bit of pronunciation and culture today. I thought I'd mix the two. Good. So I think we're okay with this sentence. It was very good. Let's take a look at this one, all right? So Jackie saw some strange flowers in the garden. Ken, do you want to go first?
Okay. Jackie saw some strange flowers in the garden.
Good. And so I've put 3 S words together, and flowers is sometimes difficult as well. So that was good. Garrett?
Jackie saw some strange flowers in the garden.
Perfect. Thomas, you already read this, but does anyone have any questions with this sentence? They're pretty simple, actually. Okay.
I think what's interesting, I mean, obviously every culture has their own problems. I think if I were to guess, the problem word would be, can you put it back on? Or I have to put it back on, don't I? Hold on, I'll do that. Flowers would be the problem, strangely, because the W is silent. and Germans would probably want to pronounce that Flauvers or Flovers or something like that. So, as I said, every country has their own problem. W's in general, there are so many variations of W's, are really quite a big problem for Germans. People always think it's the TH sound, which, for some people that's true. But W's, you hardly ever get a German pronouncing W's properly.
I had never thought about that. And you're actually right. The word, for example, flower, this is uncountable, so I cannot put an S on it. But flower, it's the same. And I was thinking, we do pronounce W, flower, but in this word flower that I've typed, there's no W. So it doesn't make sense that they sound the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our flower.
That's a good one, Garrett.
And then flower, absolutely.
Get your head around that one, eh? What's the difference between flower and flower?
Please, you both read those things for me, please. You both.
Okay, I'll go first, being ladies first. Our, flower. They're homophones.
Let me repeat after you. Our, flower, and what?
Flower. The same. So homophones.
Okay.
Sorry, Thomas, do you want to go ahead before I explain what homophones are?
I completely agree with you. Basically, you're pronouncing the same. Our, flower. So there isn't actually, it's a contextual thing, and that's what, one of the things people always underestimate about the English language is really that a lot of the spelling of English is to do with context. Rather than, you just couldn't know. If somebody says flower out of context completely, you wouldn't know how to spell it. You could be O-U-R or O-W-E-R. So the same with hour and hour, what hour are you likely to get here? So you immediately know we're talking about the H-O-U-R. But, at our festival or something like that, you'd know that it'd be O-U-R. So it's a contextual thing, really, which does, shouldn't be underestimated. Spelling is a nightmare, I think, in English. You have to learn you have to learn context, and you also have to learn, how do you spell Worcester? Anybody can spell Worcester here?
Oh, that sounds Worcester sauce, right?
Yeah. Worcestershire.
Can you spell it?
Worcestershire. Oh my gosh.
No, I can't spell it.
No, I can't.
Shire. Hold on, my autocorrect should help me here. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna type what I have.
Hold on, my headphones are going. Hold on, I'm just plugging them in.
And thank you, autocorrect, for helping me. And the funny thing is that in the United States, we have spelling tests every week, especially when we're younger. And so we start, when we start learning how to read and write, we have spelling tests. We have 10 per week, and, Friday you do the test. And then later, once we're older, we do Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
That's what you put in Bloody Marys, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, well, I'm glad you know. I'm glad you know your alcohol, so that's always good to know.
I love Bloody Marys.
But it's where James is from. He's from Worcester. Of course, it's a town near Birmingham in England. So just north of I think it's north of Birmingham. So. But yes, it's a nightmare spelling in some of the spelling is really quite difficult, I think.
Well, as I was saying, in the United States, one of the things we practice and learn from being a little kid is spelling, and we have spelling bees. They call it spelling bees, which is basically a spelling competition. And so we focus on that. Here in Spain, they don't have to because everything sounds the same. The only thing that's a little different is their B and their V. They pronounce them the same. They have a double L, which sounds like a Y sound, for example. The H is silent, so sometimes when they spell, they don't know if it has an H or a not. So those are their spelling issues. But in general, it's easy. So,
In German, you pronounce things, if you speak High German, exactly as you write it, in about 99% of the cases. There are some exceptions, but they're very, very few. So on the whole, you can take a pretty good stab at it, you know, when you spell something in German, because if you listen carefully, you should be able to hear every single letter.
and that's the same in Spanish.
Doesn't always work, but it works in most cases.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, obviously we have Garrett from Pakistan and Ken from Japan. What about in your native languages? And Garrett, do you speak, what, 2 or 3 different languages apart from English?
The Urdu language is mostly spoken in our country.
And how are they related about the spelling, or I mean, is it even relatable? Can you pronounce a word and it looks the same as you write it?
You mean in English or my native language?
In your native language.
There isn't any kind of problem. I don't see those kind of confusing word as same as in English. Maybe I'm a native speaker. This is why I don't feel any problem, or I don't have any confusing words right now. But that is pretty similar with English somehow in some cases, especially someone who wants to learn our language, then we can see the problem. Otherwise, I don't feel any problem or confusion.
Okay. Huh. I just read about Thomas, but that's interesting. In Massachusetts, and actually, there's something really funny about Massachusetts and Mississippi is everyone kind of learns how to spell MISSISSIPPI, for example, in Mississippi. And so there's Massachusetts. I don't think I can spell it that fast, but it doesn't even look like a very good word.
Yes, there's also Worcester in South Africa, and there is one obviously in England, as I said, and one in the United States.
Well, I'm not surprised because in Massachusetts that's called the New England part. So, of course, there are very similar names there as well. Good. Sorry, Ken, can you talk to us about the pronunciation? Obviously, in Japanese, it's a little different.
Very complicated. I bet more complicated than Japanese, actually. This is a Japanese sentence. It combines with 2 different types of letters. If a message is English word, so it should be in letters. And the letters for foreign language, foreign words. And another word is use another type of letter. And then, for example, Chinese character part, this character, let me type. This character has 3 different sounds actually. Shou, yi, zhou, and 4 different sounds according to the word and context. Very complicated.
So you can't complain about English pronunciation, basically.
Chinese characters.
That's exactly what I wanted.
I can complain.
Well, you pronounce words very well.
I think because of this complicated writing system, Japanese kids cannot enjoy a long summer vacation, because summer vacation here just 40 days.
That's not a lot.
Yes, so maybe we need to take a time a lot for mastering this complicated writing system. Probably. Yeah.
Okay. Well, interesting. Well, I liked that conversation. However, we do have some more sentences to look at. Are those words pronounced like are? Our? Here's, I'm not sure I understand. Are. You mean are?
Yeah, I'm always confused. Is there any kind of difference between our and our?
Yeah,
None.
there is. Actually,
No,
And
Okay.
I was actually going to say many people, at least in the United States, from obviously my experience, is we will pronounce it the same because we're lazy. But there is a difference. Our R. There's a big difference.
Okay. And you, Thomas, what do you say?
No difference. No difference.
No. Okay.
No. Hour and hour. As I said, it's a contextual thing, and I mean, I think in all fairness, and Becky might be right in terms of that, there could be a slight difference that I haven't been privy to, but on the whole, most people, when they speak normally, I think are pretty lazy, as Becky was saying. And I think maybe if you listen to a BBC reporter or you listen to the Queen, she would again pronounce that you probably would hear a difference if the Queen, for example, would hold a speech or something like that. There would be a difference between hour and hour, but I have to be honest, because I never spoke like a Queen.
Even though you want to.
Yeah, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. So I think yeah, sorry.
No, you carry on.
No, you go. No, you go first.
It's too funny.
Please carry on, complete your word. I just want to listen. What were you saying?
Yeah, as I said, I think there are probably differences. I would have to ask James actually whether he would pronounce hour and hour different, and then I would have to listen very carefully to see whether it's actually something. But in essence, if you're learning a language, this is not something I would hugely worry about, because you will not be judged by how well you could pronounce hour and hour differently, if there is a difference at all.
Any comments, Garrett?
No. There was something else. What I was thinking that British don't like word to pronounce R, in American loves to pronounce R, like do.
Yeah.
I see the difference.
My first experience was pretty funny. I was teaching a B1 course here, and it said how to pronounce the R's. I was like, well, what are they talking about? Summer, and I don't even, other words, door, and all of it. Like, there's no difference. And they're like, I listened to the audio, and it was like the A at the end. I was like, oh my gosh, seriously? So that was my first experience with realizing that British do not say the R at the end of the word. Thomas, do you have any comments on that?
No, it's true. I mean, that's the way they speak, isn't it? I mean, you can't all be as perfect as you.
No, it's just, even actually in the next sentence, and the reason I have it in there, and I'm glad you're here today, Thomas, is so people can see the difference between the pronunciation. So let me read the next sentence on the screen. It says, there is a lot of furniture in the garage. Thomas, can you read it first, that next?
I haven't got it in front of me. Oh, sorry, there. Yes, I have. There's a lot of furniture in the garage.
Did you hear that? Garage.
Garage.
Okay.
It's a garage. People who say garage are usually posh and quite rich. So it's a yes, you can say garage, but the whole accent again. This is where accents become really complicated, because you have in the UK you have not just the difference between maybe Ireland, Scotland, the north of England, Wales, but you also have a class difference. So people from different classes, even though that's really not a big issue as it used to be, possibly, but they may pronounce things. As I said, the Queen would pronounce things very differently from your average person on the street. So that's confusing because when you learn a language, you kind of have to decide, well, who do I actually want to be in this culture? Am I going to have a London accent, or am I going to have a Yorkshire accent, or am I going to just go for the sort of middle of the road accent, sort of? And the problem is, because you don't have that identity in terms of class, in terms of cultural background, in terms of where you come from and all of that. You simply don't have that when you go to a foreign country. So they will always know, no matter how good your pronunciation is, they will always know you're not from there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when Becky goes to New York, they'll know that she's not from New York.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's not suddenly going to put on a New York accent just because she's going to visit for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like you said, people always say, which one's better, British English, American? It depends. It depends. If you're going to live in England, you should probably pick up that accent. The same for me. For example, I learned Latino Spanish, and so my pronunciation was different. The words were different, just like the English that Thomas and I are speaking. Basically the same, but there are differences. I would say, I will call you tomorrow. He'll say, I'll phone you tomorrow, for example. Same meaning, just a different word. And so I think it just totally depends on your specific situation, who you're talking to, what you're using it for, personal, business, etc. So there's no one better English or anything. It just depends. So good. Well, why don't we have our two non-native? Well, actually, Thomas, you're not a truly native.
True.
Like it.
True.
But Garrett, why don't you go first? Can you read the sentence? There is a lot of furniture in the garage.
Sure. There's a lot of furniture in the garage. I don't say garage. Garage is like garage.
That's what I was thinking.
This is loud.
Perfect. Thank you. And Ken, can you read the sentence, please?
Let me try a British one. There's a lot of furniture in the garage.
Kind of had it.
And if you're posh, this is the irony. Actually, if you're posh, you probably would say garage.
Garage.
Oh, there's a lot of furniture in the garage.
Furniture in the garage.
So the posh kind of accent. I heard it said like that, but I don't know many posh people. So yeah, there's a lot of furniture in the garage. You can say both in English, in British English. Both is perfectly acceptable. You might be looked at a bit funny if you sound too posh.
That's the same in the States as well. I mean, garage, they do pronounce it a different way, and honestly, I can't even tell you how it would be, but it's a little bit more like the garage. I don't know how to explain it, but you can pronounce it two different ways as well. So, and the last one here that we see is actually something that we were talking about earlier, is about being lazy when you speak. So I'll read the sentence as it's written, and then I'll read it as if I were saying it in a normal situation, and you'll see the difference here. So, do you want to go to the swimming pool? And natively, I'd say, do you want to go to the swimming pool? Okay, so I'm taking a lot of syllables out, and that's because of laziness and because you will always understand what I'm saying. Thomas, do you want to read that next?
Yeah, as you said, I mean, there's two ways of doing that, isn't it? I mean, in colloquial spoken English, do you wanna is probably reasonably acceptable in English as well. The do you want to go to the swimming pool is probably more likely in English, even for people who in other aspects might actually be lazy.
And even we would even just take out do you, and we say want to go to the swimming. Here's my idea. Pool. This is how we would literally say want to go to the swimming pool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as a native, you can even take off the auxiliary verb and the subject because we know who you're talking to, and due to the intonation of pool, we know that it's a question.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why things get more difficult between learning English and real life English. So Ken, why don't you go ahead and read the sentence however you want.
Do you wanna go to a swimming pool?
I love Ken's American accent. It's fantastic.
That accent I heard a lot in Georgia.
I'm sure you did. Fantastic. Garrett, can you give it a try for us?
Okay. Do you want to go to the swimming pool? And do you want to go to the swimming pool?
Okay, good. So any questions with that?
I wonder how short you
No.
can make it. Want a pool? Want a pool?
Want a pool?
You just leave out the whole sentence, really, and just say, or
I would say
pool.
swimming pool. Swimming pool?
Or just say pool, yeah. Pool today?
Well, actually, pool is actually, as you would say, billiards, right? Billiards. We say pool. Do you want to play pool?
No, we
And
say
so-
there's such a thing as pool billiards, isn't there? Which is snooker in
Yeah,
UK.
that's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I'm talking about here. Because you go swimming in a pool and you play pool as the game, and it's a pool table.
You also have a pool of people, yeah?
Pool, sure. Yeah, like a.
Do you spell it the same way? Yes, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
A carpool, yes.
Carpool, absolutely.
Very good. Yeah.
Pool. Now I can't think of any other words, but yeah. So we can use the same word for many different things as well. But with even just these 4 sentences that we were practicing, there's so much in here. There's pronunciation, intonation, difficult words. So I think we did fantastic with these. Because I have, like I said, I have some tongue twisters if you're interested.
If the British use wanna to, wanna gonna.
Thomas?
Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of the screen because it's covering half of your PowerPoint presentation, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Okay, done. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
What did you say? I was
Do the Brits use wanna gonna to?
Wanna gonna to?
Yes.
As well.
They use as well.
I don't know. I mean, I think in England, I don't know. I think most people in the UK are probably not as lazy as the United States. But there are most certainly certain. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say. But I'm trying to think of all the people that speak different, and it really is different from. I mean, and London is a bit of a bastard city because, in a sense, probably like New York, because you have so many different cultures, so many people coming from all over the UK and all over the world. And, for example, at my work as a nurse, I work with a lot of Australian people, no Americans, but a lot of Australian people. Again, a completely different accent. And it's difficult. And you have people from up north. You have people from Scotland. We had quite a few Irish people working for us. So you're exposed. And because I had constant contact with my patients, because I was working in very acute psychiatry, and I had to examine them and see whether they are fit to be treated in the community, in essence, deciding whether they should be admitted. So I had constant contact with so many different accents. It's really quite, you have an Indian English accent, for example, as well. And of course, a lot of Indian people, because of colonization, speak excellent English, of course. Anyway, sorry, we are now moving on to Chuck. Woodchuck. I don't know that one, so that should be fun.
What? You don't know that one? The only thing I want to mention before we actually start the tongue twisters is, for example, with word reference, you can actually change the accent. And for the United States, there's like the US, and then there's a Southern US, which is the Texan, basically, accent. Plus, there are a lot of other accents as well. So if you're interested, go ahead, type in a word reference, and then you click on it and just try the different accents. So it's pretty funny, actually, and a little bit too true. So good. So what we're going to do is, I love Peter Piper, but I figured we'd start with woodchuck today. And I like both of these because I can actually say them. So Sally sells seashells by the seashore always gets me. I say I don't like to practice that one. so let me do this one. Let's see how fast I can do this. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And now I don't know the second part as well. As much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. And so what we're doing here is looking at the pronunciation of the words, because would and could rhyme here. Okay, just like wood. Let me take this. Wood and wood I pronounced the same. So that's why I'm focusing on this before the pronunciation. And tongue twisters are fun. So Thomas, would you like to give this a try, or do you want to be last? So you have some time.
I don't mind. And this is precisely the W, by the way, that Germans would find extraordinarily difficult to pronounce. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? As much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Good, not bad. For your first time reading, I think it's pretty good. Ken, you're unmuted. Have you heard of this one before? Maybe in class.
Woodchuck?
No?
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, this one. I was just thinking maybe you would have in other classes that I've had. But have you heard of this one before?
Maybe, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, well, why don't you go ahead and give it a try, okay?
Okay. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? If a woodchuck could chuck wood, all of them? Okay.
Yeah.
As much wood as a woodchuck could chuck. If a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Okay, not bad. Garrett, do you want to give it a try?
Okay. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? As much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Fantastic.
I think the important thing actually about this is obviously one, to pronounce the words itself, but there is a certain correct me if I'm wrong, Becky, but there's a certain importance about intonation here. Because in order for that, you know, if you were to listen to it, as you know, if somebody were to listen to you and you'd said these words, they would also have to be understandable. So the sentence has to make sense to somebody who listens. And if you just say the words, it's almost impossible to follow. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? As much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. So there is actually, I think, because otherwise the sentence doesn't actually make sense if you don't put the stress on the intonation on the right words. I mean, then, you know, the words are difficult enough. And I think what makes it a particularly difficult tongue twister is to also still make sense of it.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree as well. And in English, I've heard people say that we kind of sing in English and we use the intonation. At least that's one of the things I've noticed from being in the United States to Spain. In Spanish, they don't usually use the intonation as much as I would. And so I'll say, no, don't do that. You know, I'll elongate that O sound in Spanish. You don't do that. And so I'm kind of mixing my English accent, my, you know, native American speaking way, and putting it into the Spanish way. And I don't think it really goes that well together, but it's definitely my own little style. So,
because if you translate this sentence is, you know, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck? I had the word there in a moment. Now it's gone. If a woodchuck could chuck wood. Because if assuming that a woodchuck could chuck wood, how much would they be able to chuck?
Exactly.
That's what it's saying. So assuming the woodchuck could chuck wood, you know, they could, you know, chuck as much. A woodchuck could chuck as much wood as they could. I mean, you know, as only a woodchuck could. So it kind of and to get that across in a tongue twister, the actual meaning of the words, can only be done not just by pronunciation, but also intonation.
Absolutely. Well, before we finish, I'd like to do the Peter Piper because I really enjoyed Peter Piper. So Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Yes. All right. Oof. So that's done. Thomas, do you want to try that one?
Oh, I think somebody else should go first this time. I went first last time.
Okay, great. Garrett is really good at time pictures. So Garrett, why don't you try and Ken can practice meanwhile.
Now, Thomas made me confused if whether it is about to read with the intonation or who goes faster.
You go first.
How to
do
read
it however you want. Yep.
Trying to read it faster, okay? Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. A pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, where's the pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
Very good. I knew you'd do a great job. Where's my
That was
round?
brilliant. Very, very good. I will be embarrassed to go after you. So
I wanted you to go first.
So I'm going to let Ken go first.
Ken, are you ready? Have you been practicing?
Oh my God. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
All right, not so bad. This is very difficult because of the ending with picked and pickled, for example. Those are very difficult things for here in Spain as well. And so this is basically impossible for Spanish people to pronounce with a lower level. Obviously, with a higher level, they'd be fine, but very good. Thomas, are you ready?
Yeah, all right then. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. A pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, where's the pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? I struggled with that one this time.
I did see that. No,
I was distracted, but yes, no, it is not easy.
It isn't easy, and that's why, like I said, this Sally sells
I think
is difficult.
Garrett's won this one.
I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. But there's one thing I don't understand is pack. I don't know why it's pack and not pack, and I don't know if that's because it's easy to pronounce pack instead of pack, or what. But pack isn't really anything super common. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen so I can say goodbye to everyone because our class is coming to an end.
Oh no!
So, fun class. I had a great time. Like I said, we practiced 4 sentences and 2 tongue twisters, and I loved the questions, and I loved the part about intonation, pronunciation, different types of accents, blah blah blah, and all the questions. I really enjoyed class today. So
that's great. Me too.
Good. Well, we have to thank Ken because it was Ken's idea. So to practice pronunciation and questions. So
thank you very much.
Well, wonderful. And actually on Wednesday, no, tomorrow, I'm lying. Tomorrow I have a class about for and since and the differences. So if you have time and want to come tomorrow earlier than today, so make sure to check the Intenga website, okay?
Okay.
And I forgot to put today's thing on Facebook. Sorry, Facebook. Facebook didn't get this link today. Anyway, it's Sunday.
We do. Just 1 second. I know. Just to let people know. I think this is the right page. We are working on a new page, which is going to be for our business, but obviously you'll be able to join there as well because you're such regulars now. Okay. This is the link to our new page. We're working on it. It's not finished because we still need to translate it into German as well. But this is the our new lessons page, and that's what it will look like, sort of. There's still changes, but you can have a look and amuse yourselves.
Did you put it in the chat box? Because I don't see it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't press enter.
That's what I was thinking. Perfect. Well, wonderful. Any other questions before we finish for today?
Nope.
So
Wonderful.
the Integra website is going to move to this website in the future.
I will probably keep the Intenga website for some time to come, but I won't update it because there's always a lot. There's a lot of programming to do with the updates. For example, I should be doing an update now, but it will probably take a week. I'm concentrating on our business website at the moment, but you will be able to enter via that website. So that's all I'm saying. So I will publicize it. We are still 2-3 months away, so but I just thought I'd give you an idea how pretty it looks.
It does look very pretty. So.
Wow, yeah.
Wonderful.
Anyway,
Well,
you all take care. I won't be there
Same
tomorrow.
details.
I'm going to see my grandmother. But you all take care and have a lovely. Well, it's afternoon here, so wherever I don't know where you are, but enjoy wherever you are.
Okay.
Time for
Thank
you,
very
Ken.
much.
I agree, Thomas. Evan, thank you for the class. We'll
Thank
see
you,
you
Garrett.
tomorrow another day, okay?
Okay.
Goodbye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. It was a lovely
Bye.
talk.
Bye bye.
Bye.